welcome to the Wine Glass, and today I'm going to be answering a question that you may have. When did my wine go bad? Why did my wine go bad? Is my wine bad? And I'll be answering all these questions today, talking about wine faults. Now, wine faults tend to mainly happen due to poor storage or poor handling. So unfortunately, it may be something that happened before it even gets to you. It's kind of the luck of the draw whether or not you'll be getting a bad wine. So let's go right into it. And the first fault we're going to talk about is going to be cork taint. Now this happens when chlorine gets in contact with the cork, kind of ends up having a weird reaction and then starts to affect the wine. Now what should I look out for? If it smells like wet cardboard, wet or old newspaper, some people even say it smells like wet dog, then unfortunately your wine is corked. Now what can I do to save this wine? Nothing. Unfortunately, with cork taint, there's not really much anything that you can do to fix it. So the best thing to do is to just go ahead and return the wine, ask for a glass from a new bottle, or just go ahead and choose something else from their selection. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is going to be reduction. So reduction happens when not enough oxygen gets introduced into the wine during the wine making process. So it's going to smell kind of like garlic, rotten eggs, burnt matches. It's going to have a little bit of a sulfur flavor to it as well. So what can I do to save this wine? Decant it. Add oxygen to it. That is going to help kind of air out any of those faults and really bring forward what it is that the winemaker was trying to put forth with their wine. Now, if oxidizing doesn't help, you can always go ahead and stir it with a silver spoon, and that should help as well. Now, if you've tried both and neither one has helped, then once again, the best thing to do is just go ahead and return it, ask for a glass from a different bottle, or go ahead and choose something else from your selection. So let's go forward to the most common wine fault that people will experience: oxidation. So oxidation happens, unlike in reduction where there was not enough oxygen in the process. Oxidation happens when there is too much oxygen introduced to the wine. So it can happen to wines that are closed, wines that are open. It just happens over time. It's just something that is unavoidable when it comes to wines. Now, what should I look out for? So it's gonna smell kind of like jackfruit, bruised apples, and linseed oil, but this fault's actually a very visual one. So your wine will actually start to turn brown. And a great way to check is to check the brimming of your glass. So right here, I have a glass of an oxidized wine. So if you tilt your glass like this and you check the brimming here, you should see that it's a completely different color than what it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert a photo of a good wine and an oxidized wine here. And you'll see that on a good wine, the brimming is actually clear. And then on the bad wine, it's actually brown. So if your wine is turning brown and it starts to smell kind of funky, like jackfruit, then unfortunately your wine has oxidized. So how long does this normally take? People recommend to drink your wine between 5 to 7 days. I recommend between 3 to 5. That way you can reduce the chances of your wine oxidizing. Now, something that can help is you can either put your wine in the refrigerator, or you can use one of these here, which is a wine stopper, and that you can actually pump out the oxygen in the bottle. So if you were to just cork your bottle, all that oxygen that's still left in the bottle will just sit there and just keep oxidizing that wine. However, if you use one of these and you pump out that oxygen, you're reducing the amount of time the oxygen has to react with your wine. Now, this one I got at my local grocery store. You can get it at a grocery store or your liquor store, pretty much anywhere where they sell wine, they most likely have one of these. There are also fancy ones in where they replace the oxygen with argon gas to really preserve your wine further. But, for the everyday Joe out there, it's best to go ahead and get this. It's a great way to preserve your wines. Now, does this mean you can keep your wine in the refrigerator for a month? No. If you have wine that is more than 12 days from being opened, my best recommendation is please throw it out. Don't drink that wine. So Is there a way to fix it? Unfortunately, no. The best thing to do is just to throw out the wine, and if you're out and about somewhere, just go ahead and return the wine. Also, a great thing to do is let them know, hey, you know, this wine has gone bad. You know, you might want to just toss that bottle. That way, they don't keep serving from that bottle, and then other people are also getting bad wine. You know, just let them know, hey, the wine's kind of gone bad. You may want to open up a new bottle. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next fault, which is going to be volatile acidity, also known as VA. So VA is actually something that can legally be added to wine. You can put in legally 1.2 grams per liter into your wine, and it does add some complexity to it. However, some people are very sensitive to VA. So what is it? What can I smell for? Well, the best thing that you can check for is going to be a smell of vinegar or nail polish remover, kind of like that acetone smell. Those are going to be the things you want to look out for in your wine. Now, the thing about volatile acidity is that it's really up to you whether you want to keep it, whether you want to return it. If you are sensitive to it, then return it. But if you're not, it really is just up to you what you want to do. So let's go ahead and move on to our next one, which is going to be Brettanomyces, also known as Brett. So Brett is a wild yeast that kind of ferments along with wine yeast. I'm going to go ahead and write the name of wine yeast here. It's a very long, complicated name, and I don't want to missay it. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it right here, and then you can go ahead and have a gander on how you say it. But it's a wild-grown yeast that kind of ferments alongside our wine yeast. Once again, it's not really a bad thing. It's something that occurs naturally, so it is up to you whether or not you want to keep it. Some winemakers have actually embraced it. Some winemakers don't like having that in their wines. So just like it's up to the winemakers, it is also up to you. So what should I look out for? You're going to be looking for kind of like a barnyard smell, kind of like sweaty saddle leather, just kind of like that musty smell. That's going to be Brett. Now let's go ahead and move on to our last wine fault, which is going to be UV damage or light strike. Now this happens when wine has been in exposure to sunlight or excessive exposure to UV light. So this mainly happens in white wines and sparkling wines. It doesn't happen as much in red wines. So if you have white wine or a sparkling wine, just be conscious of how much UV light is actually going to be getting to that wine. It causes a chemical reaction, and then it ends up prematurely aging. So what can I look out for? It's going to kind of change color, just like how it would with oxidation. So just keep an eye on it and make sure you're not exposing it too much. And if you also store your wines next to a heat source, you can cook it. So cooking is where it's kind of super out of temperature, and then it ends up altering the flavor and smell profiles of the wine. So if you have it on your countertop, try to keep it away from like your stove, your oven, or your microwave. Just kind of keep it away from its heat sources so it stays nice and cool. So right here I do have some examples of some wine faults. So this wine right here is actually oxidized, which is the wine that I have in my glass. And then this is a Moscato, and this is a Sauvignon Blanc. As you can see, they are not the correct color. The Moscato actually has UV damage and some oxidation, and then the Sauvignon Blanc is going to be oxidation. So this Moscato is actually underneath the light, so every time we turn on the light, it does get in that damage. So unfortunately, these are wines that we will not be able to enjoy, but we thankfully have some more wines that we can enjoy. So once again, unlike the volatile acidity and the Brettanomyces, all the other wines, I do recommend that you go ahead and throw out or exchange for a different wine. For volatile acidity and Brettanomyces, it really is up to you whether or not you want to keep it or if you want to toss it. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Remember to drink responsibly, and happy drinking!